It's noon here in Ventnor City, New Jersey, and our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. And this is CarEdge Live for Tuesday, August 5th, with your hosts wearing white today. Me, Ray in Ventnor, and Zach representing the Northeast Track Club in D.C. How are you today, handsome?
I'm doing okay. Having an okay day. I'm excited to be here with you, though, Dad. August 5th. Excited for another episode of CarEdge Live. No sponsor for today's program, folks. So we're going to take a moment to remind you about CarEdge.com. Before we talk about the really interesting news from our friends over at Mazda, we got to remind you, CarEdge.com, if you need help buying a car or selling a car or researching a car or insuring a car or getting protection for a car, all things car lead to the edge. Go to CarEdge.com. And like we talked about yesterday, Dad, the AI Negotiator, so cool. We still got ongoing conversation here with this BMW dealership. So folks, if you're not using the AI Negotiator for your next car deal, well, you should be using our car buying services instead. But the AI Negotiator is a great place to start. Really cool to see how this thing works. And you can access it back at CarEdge.com/shop over on the car search. Dad, enough of that. Let's talk about what's going on over at Mazda. And what's shocking about this with import-heavy Mazda blaming their quarterly operating loss of $319 million on tariffs. The thing that I thought was shocking about this, Dad, was really how direct they're being about the fact that there are going to be price hikes soon. So if you scroll down in this article, they talk about Mazda's going to increase the prices of their vehicles. They've also found $553 million in fixed and variable costs that they can get rid of. That's shocking to me that they can find $550 million in costs to get rid of on the, in a moment's notice. But they've also talked about that. They're going to get rid of their low profit vehicles and they're going to focus more on their high margin vehicles and they're going to increase prices. That's Mazda's strategy. I thought we could spend a few minutes here talking about it.
That is their strategy to help offset the cost of tariffs. We understood that it was costing Mazda about $100 million a month with the added cost of tariffs. The CX-30 and the Mazda 3 are built in Mexico and are subject to high tariffs, and the bulk of their offerings are built in Japan. Yep. So the good news is the tariffs on the Japan vehicles have dropped from 25% to 15%, but it's still 15%. And yeah, they recognize the fact that they can't continue to operate with just low profit margin vehicles, which has been a big part of their success, because one of the things in my mind that makes Mazda as successful as it is they provide greater value for your money than most brands out there. The fit and finish, the quality of the materials, the amount of standard features at very reasonable price points. And this is going to impact. There won't be, as many CX-30s or Mazda 3s brought into the United States. They're gonna hope to increase sales with the new CX-5 that comes out, the CX-70 and the CX-90, because they're higher profit margin vehicles, and that impacts consumers directly.
I like this comment right here. Mazda's always been a value brand. But that's exactly what they're saying they need to transition out of in order to sustain themselves amidst price increases. So let me just read the article for a moment here. Mazda held stickers steady, meaning they didn't increase their prices between April and June. But Morrow, this is one of the executives, said the company will use the upcoming model year updates to bump up prices. He declined to say what nameplates would be targeted or how high prices would rise. Mazda is still considering the best approach. He said, quote, "For the new model year product, using that opportunity, we like to take some level of pricing actions. We include some of that assumption in our roadmap, And you can see here, Mazda will also reel in incentives to help offset the tariff impact. And one more line before I then transition this, Dad. As part of the multi-prong strategy, Morrow said Mazda has been dialing down output of the low-profit vehicles from Japan and Mexico, like we just said, where tariffs sting the most. Instead, it's prioritized production of fat margin, that's Automotive News' words, not mine, large crossovers such as the CX-70, which is new, and the CX-90, as well as the CX-50 made the company's joint venture factory in Alabama, Mazda's only US-based assembly plant. Now, here's the deal. We've compiled the best deals for the month of August, which really
Yes.
become your Labor Day deals as well. There's one vehicle on there that Mazda's offering $10,000 in lease cash against, and it's the
Yes.
Mazda CX-90 PHEV. Dad, I feel very honored and humbled. Mazda's giving me a press car later this week. You know what it is? A Mazda CX-90 PHEV. I have the window sticker for it here, what I'm going to have later this week. Let's just get some guesses. What do you think the press vehicle that Mazda sends to folks like me and other journalists, I really don't like using that word. What do you think they send, Dad? How expensive do you think this Mazda gets? And then again, we're going to tie it back to the fact that this is the only Mazda right now that we have on our best deals list for August because it has a $10,000 lease cash.
Well, if I were to guess,
yeah, what do you think it is?
I'm guessing that they're not sending you a lame ass CX-90 PHEV. They're going to send you their top trim level. I'm guessing it's somewhere in the low 60s.
All right. Now, this is one of the first times we've ever done one of these live experiments where someone in the community hit the number. It was the first number that came out, and it was exactly the right number.
Yeah.
$60,000. Look at this, folks. Look at this window sticker. And to my dad's point, congratulations to you, WTHS Varsity Softball. 2025 Mazda CX-90. It's a PHEV Premium Plus. MSRP is $57,950. You add the optional equipment and the destination charge, it's $60,000. So coming full circle here, Dad.
Yes.
We've got a comment in the chat talking about how Mazda has always been a good value brand. We've got Mazda saying, hey, we're going to lean more into our fat margin large crossovers such as the CX-70 and CX-90. We've got you and me, automotive influencers, getting a press vehicle for a week. And what is it? It's a $60,000 CX-90. And we have the quote unquote best deal from Mazda being a $10,000 cash incentive.
On a lease.
On a lease.
Yes.
I don't know, man. Is there a story here? I think there's a story.
The story. Here's the story. The story is that tariffs are going to force everybody to pay more for automobiles going forward. That's the story. Okay, if we want choices in this country, and we seem to always love choices because we're the best buyers in the world of goods, that with added tariffs, that means we as consumers get to pay more for everything. It's pretty simple.
But there's another story there, Dad, which is the strategy to combat pricing is going up market with more expensive vehicles, which to your point, things get more expensive. But then is that strategy already backfiring is the question I'm asking. I mean, look at some of the comments. Look at some of the comments we've already seen here. Frogget saying, I'd rather get a Lexus GX 550. Like the fact that Mazda is now competing with Lexus in terms of at least mind share. Can you get a GX 550 for $60,000? I don't know. We can do some research. But like this is, I think, another story, Dad, is the strategy to combat this is to go up market. And we're maybe seeing some cracks in that foundation. Because again, why else would Mazda have a $10,000 lease cash incentive on this particular vehicle?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're seeing what it takes to get people to get interested in that $60,000 vehicle. But yeah, the bigger story is that many brands are going to produce fewer of their entry-level vehicles than they have in the past to offset how tariffs impact their profits. So if it's a low margin vehicle like a Mazda 3 or a CX-30, and you know, like the one I got was what, almost $35,000, which is $25,000 less than the CX-90 you're about to drive. But if that's a low profit margin vehicle for them, and in order to be able to afford to bring vehicles like that in, they have to sell more of the, as Automotive News put it, the fat profit vehicles, then the amount of choice as a consumer for good value brands is disappearing. Okay. Yeah, interest rates are still high. Well, relatively high. I mean, from what people know for the past 20 years, they're high. From what I know from my lifetime, they're still cheap.
Yep.
Okay. But the fact that vehicles have gotten as expensive as they have, and you combine that with what is high interest rates for the last 20 years, it makes it more difficult for people to be able to afford them. And it makes it more difficult. I mean, Mazda has said that they expect a decline or a flattening of sales for the remainder of the year. They were one of the big winners last year. They showed great growth, I think, in January, February, and March. And with the advent of tariffs, their sales kind of, and I guess because they're trying to sell more of the fat profit margin vehicles, their sales declined. They did bounce back in July, but we are seeing their expectation for where they were hoping to have a record year to they've accepted the fact they ain't going to have a record year, and sales will probably slide backwards to a degree.
I
So
think,
you already see the changes.
and I think there's like a little bit of, forgive me, but talking out of both sides of your mouth, because Mazda will also reel in incentives to help offset the tariff impact.
Yes.
That's one line. We're prioritizing production of fat margin large crossovers such as the CX-70 and CX-90. And again, the CX-90 PHEV, the $60,000, and at least in the case of the one that they're very generously giving to me for a week, has a $10,000 lease cash incentive. Which, Dad, can you explain actually what is a $10,000 lease cash incentive? Like, what does this mean? Is this actually a good incentive?
Yeah, it automatically reduces the capitalized cost of the vehicle by $10,000. So if, and this is what people don't understand when it comes to leasing. When you lease a vehicle, what you are doing when you are negotiating is not necessarily negotiating the payment at first. What you want to negotiate is the selling price of the vehicle to the lease company. Okay? Because the larger the discount you can get on the vehicle for the lease company to buy it, the lower your payment's going to be. So you're going to be driving a $60,000 vehicle. There is some margin built into that vehicle. I'm going to guess it's probably somewhere around $4,000, $4,500. But the dealer is going to say, well, here's $10,000 lease cash. And so we'll make the selling price $50,000. Well, the dealer's still holding all that margin.
I hear you. But yeah.
Well, my point was going to be that, yeah, the lease cash comes off the selling price. Your job as a consumer is to get even more off the selling price so that you're helping the finance company or the lease company buy that vehicle as inexpensively as they possibly can so you can have a lower payment.
For sure. But I don't want to be lost in this, the fact that we've got in one line, Mazda saying we're going to reel in our incentive spend. On another line, we're going to produce more of our high margin, expensive full-size SUVs. And then the incentive they have in the market right now is a $10,000 incentive. We can do a separate video, separate conversation, or comment in the chat right now if you want us to go deeper into how to negotiate a car lease. I pulled up the page back on the CarEdge website. Just Google search how to negotiate a car lease space CarEdge, and it'll pop right up. That's a $10,000 incentive, Dad, reducing the selling price of the vehicle by $10,000. The pieces of this story, if we put the bullet points down and we ask someone to logically try and walk us through how they're all interconnected and make sense, they don't. None of these things make sense. You cannot say that we're going to reel in incentives, we're going to produce more expensive vehicles. Oh, and actually the biggest incentive we have in the market right now, a $10,000 incentive. You and I have been doing this a long time. $10,000 lease cash. How many times have we seen something like that?
Well, $10,000 on a $60,000 vehicle is pretty big. 10% would be $6,000. Okay.
No, it's a 15, what is that? 15, 16% discount from the manufacturer.
Yes. Before you start
before the dealer discount.
Yes. So yeah, it's huge. So are they talking out of both sides of their mouth where they're saying, well, we're going to have to cut back incentives? Well, yeah, but maybe what they're doing is they realize that even with a $10,000 lease cash incentive, they're not going to sell that many of them, so that the ultimate cost of what that incentive will be based on the number of leases that they create for the CX90 PHEV will still be less than what their total incentive spend might have been had they put the money on other vehicles. Even at the 10 grand, which is a lot of money, ladies and gentlemen. But how many CX90 PHEVs do they retail in a month? I'm guessing it's not a lot. If it's 1,500 a month for that type of vehicle, that to me would seem like a lot. So, would you rather put 10 grand on 1,500 cars, or 3 grand on 50,000 cars?
No matter how
Ultimately,
you
it's
slice it.
cheaper to put the 10 grand on the 1,500.
No matter how you slice it, though, folks, I think this is a good case study for what's going on in the auto industry right now. What you just said, putting 10 grand on 1,500 cars, that's a $15 million expense. I just want to really make sure that is clearly understood by everyone. And that's the reality of the auto industry right now for some of the brands. And this is obviously, it ties back to inventory, days supply of inventory. This is not the story over at Toyota. This is not the story over at Lexus, but this is very much so the story at Mazda. It could be the story over at Hyundai, at Kia, at some of the domestic brands as well. And I want to pull up here, Dad, from Josh on the team. Last time I remember a $10,000 lease cash was in 2002 on a BMW 7 Series. I've been doing this a long time, 6 years now. I do not remember ever seeing a $10,000 lease cash, let alone on a Japanese product, Dad.
You don't see it often, honey. You just don't. It's a lot of, but I'm telling you, I mean, it's going to impact 500 cars. That's all it's going to impact.
For sure. Igor's right here. There's also a loyalty rebate for Mazda shoppers as well. And you can see here from Bob, the story is a $60,000 car with a discount on a lease is still absurd. And I think at its core, what Bob said right there, really trying to juxtapose that with what was shared earlier by one of our community members saying Mazda is a value brand. That is the crux right here for a lot of these automakers that have for a long time really fit into that niche of being perceived as a value brand. And now their strategies are hinging on the fact that they no longer can be a value brand. It's the final time I'll pull up this damn article. But they are literally saying, as part of their multi-pronged strategy, they are dialing down output of low profit vehicles, and they are increasing and prioritizing production of fat margin, large crossovers like the CX70 and the CX90. I know I'm sounding like a broken record today. However, you read this article, it's one of the few times where I've used shocked, and I mean it, folks. Also, the fact that they found $550 million in costs that they could just get rid of, Dad, that was shocking to me too. How do you just find $550 million a year in costs? And you're like, well, you know what? Because of tariffs, we're going to get rid of those costs.
My guess is that they've been looking at reducing costs for some time, but that $550 million in cost, I'm guessing that's not $550 million in costs that they're going to be able to save in one fiscal year. That might be $550 million of cost that gets saved over 3 years or 5 years or whatever it is. Listen, all I can say is I am ever so thankful that I got my Mazda in March.
Yeah. Before
all the tariff nonsense and how it's impacting the industry. I would venture a guess today and say if I were looking to get that same vehicle today, the number of vehicles on hand would be much less or fewer today. There would be fewer options for me today than there were when I got mine in March. And I find that more concerning than anything else, because the ability for people to be able to find the value-based Mazda products is to a certain degree going away.
But you and I both know how this game works, and most people in our community do by this point as well. If the cars aren't selling, what happens? $10,000 lease caches are what
Yes.
come out the door. So we will see it's a pendulum swinging back and forth, and I think Phil hit the nail on the head here. Similarly, we're seeing $50,000 to $60,000 Kia SUVs. So you're seeing these value brands go way up market, trying to get more profit margin, which is actually so fascinating, Dad. This is not the first time we've seen this. Back in 2002, we spent time talking about trimflation. The disappearing act of affordable trucks, vanishing base models drive truck prices higher. Justin on our team did a whole analysis. You can see it here. We've got it back on CarEdge.com. New truck inventory, base models. You can see it all went down. These automakers decided to not produce those base models any longer. Then it started to bounce back a little bit. I think we're going to see the same thing here, whether it manifests itself in more base vehicles being produced, or more likely, they say they're going to pull back on incentives, but they actually have to increase incentives. I wouldn't be surprised if, as inventory grows, incentives skyrocket back up.
Maybe at some point. I will say this, the fact that they've been moving more upscale.
Yeah.
We know with Toyota, there's Lexus. With Honda, there's Acura. With Nissan, there's Infiniti. Well, in the 90s, Mazda was at one time planning on coming out with their own luxury division. I forget what the name of it was going to be. I mean, they were moving along the lines that they were going to have an upscale luxury division. And they decided that in reality, it wouldn't have been in their best interest, and they wouldn't really have been able to compete against Lexus and Acura and Amati. Yes. And so even though they decided not to do it then, in essence, they're doing it now. Okay. But the reason they're doing it now is their hand has been forced due to the extra cost of these tariffs.
Totally. Yeah, the tariffs have influenced what's going on from a strategy standpoint for sure. And again, it'll be fascinating, really fascinating to see what happens here if inventory builds up. And again, feel grateful, incredibly grateful to the brand that they've shared press vehicle, getting it on Thursday. That I can't wait. And I think I'm going to make a lot of really interesting content with it, because the juxtaposition between the vehicle they're sharing with me,
yes,
and their incentives on that vehicle right now, like, I hope I don't fall in love with the damn thing, because I don't really need a car right now. But a $400 a month payment on a Mazda CX-90 doesn't sound so bad.
Well, we saw that yesterday, that they have a $285 a month lease deal for 24 months, and it was with the $39.99 down. Well, you know me, I always tell you, don't put money down on a lease. So on a 24-month lease, for every $1,000 you don't put down, it will raise your payment approximately $42. So if you don't put down the $4,000, 42 and 42 is 84. So it'll raise your payment about $168. So even with $168 added to that $285, that is still an incredible lease value for just a 2-year lease term.
$450 a month.
I'm pretty good at this.
Thank you. I mean, no, seriously, like, I hope I don't fall in love with it, because it is ridiculous. Again, when the average new car payment right now on finance is over $750.
Yes.
Yeah, it is pretty wild. Dad.
And like I say, that's a 2-year term. I mean, people think to themselves, well, if I get into a lease, what is there light at the end of the tunnel? Oh my God, the tunnel's only 24 months away. So yeah, on a vehicle like that, there's light at the end of the tunnel. So like I say, it's a hell of a lease deal, even if you don't put the money down.
Yeah, it really, really is. Fascinating stuff. Dad, another story I wanted to cover today is a story that we have covered time and time again, but now it's impacting some of these upstart companies. Slate, Rivian, Lucid face pricing pressures as tax credit repeal disrupts EV market. How many times have we seen automakers come out with promises of a price point for an electric vehicle or any vehicle, and then ultimately, as it actually comes to market, the price goes up. This time now, Dad, impacting this upstart company, Slate. they came out and they got a lot of uproar because they were making a sub $20,000 truck. Now, the issue is they may not necessarily be able to deliver a sub $20,000 price.
As I was reminded when I first read about Slate, the sub $20,000 truck was based on selling a truck for $27,000 and having a $7,500 federal tax credit, which took you down to $19,500 under that magic $20,000 number. Well, guess what? There isn't going to be any federal tax credit for those vehicles moving forward. September 30th is the end of them. So, yeah, now we have to get to real pricing. And what we have seen from manufacturers over the last several years when they have announced that new models are coming out. And I believe if you read in that article that Slate has, are you sitting down, over 100,000 deposits for vehicles, over 100,000. Oh, and you know what how much you have to put down to secure one of those? You got to go to Burger King and buy 2 Whoppers because that's about all it is. It's $50 and it's refundable. So, I mean, it's, $50 to say, yeah, I want one of them.
But isn't the story, Dad, for me is very much price point of A, the price point actually becomes B, and it's totally different. We saw this with the Maverick. We saw this with the Lightning. Excuse me, we saw this with the Lightning. I don't know if we saw it with the Maverick. We saw it for sure with the Ford Lightning. I mean, we saw it with GMC's electric pickup truck. All of these vehicles. Yeah. Tesla is notorious for this.
The infamous Cybertruck that was going to be $39,000. Yeah, that was just for the front half. Okay, as it turned out. Okay, if you wanted both halves, it was $80,000. Okay, so it is all, every time we see that there's going to be a new vehicle or the promise of it is all BS. Okay, it's like saying Apple's coming out with a new iPhone and it's only going to be $3.89. Okay, until you go to buy one and it's $1,600. So it is what it is. It's all corporate BS that we have to go through as consumers when they're mentioning that there's going to be this or that's coming in the future, and the pricing is never what they say it was going to be.
Yeah, I wonder how this will impact EV demand. You and I have talked a bit about this. We think there'll be an uptake in EV purchases while there is still the federal tax credit.
Yes.
But then once it goes away, where's the demand going? And I look at this with Slate, for example, $100,000 $50 refundable deposits. A lot of people are going to be getting their $50 back, I imagine, or maybe they just forget about it that they even deposited the $50. So it'll be very fascinating to see if sales actually tick up or go down. And it's another perfect example of these automakers, these big corporations making promises for one thing, but then ultimately struggling to deliver on it.
Well, they have no intentions of delivering on it. Okay,
makes good headlines there, Dad. And
the reason they don't is because the headline price is based on if they were to build it today, and they know they're not building it for 3 years. And the one thing I can assure them, between now and 3 years from now, the cost of doing business is going to go up. It's not going to go down. So they know in their heart of hearts when they announce it that they are full of poopies. They just know that they are.
I think that could be a component of it. I also think a lot of it is PR, trying to make sure they could fit to a certain number, tell a good story, and then hope that they can deliver it. Dad, yeah. I want to show everyone really quickly something we can deliver. If you go back to CarEdge.com and click on Shop New or Shop Used, you'll be taken to the car search. And folks, like I mentioned earlier on the show, a tremendous thanks to Mazda. They're lending me a CX-90 for this upcoming weekend, and I'm very excited about it. That being said,
yes.
I was interested in purchasing a CX-90. I wouldn't just walk up to the dealership and say, okay, I'll take it. What I would do is I'd come on CarEdge.com and I'd use our AI Negotiator, negotiate this for me. Or if I really wanted to hand things off, I'd use our car buying service. So check that out back at CarEdge.com. If I'm interested in negotiating this particular one, I would just click on negotiate this for me. You can see a nice little animation. This thing starts hovering over here, highlighting over here. Vehicle added to negotiation. 2 active negotiations now, Dad. If I click on this,
Yeah.
I'm taking to my handy-dandy dashboard, and I can see here we've got an active negotiation. We've got an offer for me to review. Target price of $49,292 is what the AI is going to be shooting for here. I can then view the details of what's going on in this particular. So, hey, we got an initial out the door quote ask sent out. So anyway, really good stuff. I've got a bunch of other previous negotiations I've done in the past, but really good stuff here, folks, for you to play around with and use in your car buying journey. And Andrew saying the AI negotiation has been fun. Negotiation has been fun to watch so far. It is. And we got a big update coming later this month, which I'm excited about as well. So yeah, it's pretty awesome stuff. So check it out. If you haven't already, check it out back at CarEdge.com.
I'll do that. I'll check it out. I promise. I just want to know if they get to that price you wanted on the BMW, or if they get to that price you want on the. Are you buying one of these damn things?
I might be in the market for a car, folks. As I press these buttons, I'm getting itchy fingers. I'm reading between the tea leaves. It seems like I might be leasing or buying a car sometime soon. So we shall see. Orange Rubber Ducky wants to know my review of driving the Ram. It was too big. Too big.
They're big ass trucks.
Big ass truck, man.
Yes.
Big ass truck.
Yeah. But was it a nice truck? That's the question.
It was insanely nice. Insanely
Yeah.
nice. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous how luxurious they make these new cars, these new trucks. I mean, I'm very excited for the CX-90. Yeah, I'm actually really, really, really excited for the CX-90. The Ram 2500 with a Cummins diesel engine. I mean, it was hilarious going from riding my bike around through the city to driving around a massive, massive truck.
Yeah.
And it's just so luxurious. It had 17 speakers in it. Harman Kardon for some inexplicable reason. I mean, it's just crazy to me, but still a cool experience. And not for me.
Where the hell can they put 17 speakers in a crew cab pickup truck? I mean, it's like, that's not that big of an interior. I mean, are some of them in the car seats? I mean, where the hell are they?
They were everywhere, Dad. 17 speakers, and the bass was crazy. I turned it up loud to like hear it, and yeah, everyone's right. A Ram 2500 is too big for being in the city. I mean, it was hilarious. It was absolutely hilarious. And no, Joe, we're not switching over to being a reviewer. It's just we're getting access to these vehicles, which is really great. It helps me actually have a better appreciation for what they're doing, because I can see, Dad, how someone who doesn't necessarily actually want to use a truck for work, but wants to use a truck for a status symbol, would 100% drive that thing. I felt like I had status sitting up super high above everyone else in this big ass pickup truck. I felt powerful. Was I powerful? No, but did I feel powerful? Absolutely. I mean, there were like box trucks going by. I mean, I was sitting up higher than them. It was nuts. Well,
good for you. And the nice thing about the Mazda that you're going to drive is, I believe we're in the process of making arrangements to have one of their factory corporate reps join us on the show, so we can discuss with them, where it is they see they're going, how they see themselves getting there. So
I think obviously Mazda's at a crossroads, Dad. I mean, we spent a lot of the show talking about, maybe we can get Joe back on from JC Lewis. He manages a Mazda dealership down in Savannah, Georgia. It'd be great to get Joe back on, because I think Mazda's at a crossroads. They're trying to go up market, but their core audience thinks of them as more of a great value. We've seen Nissan tarnish their brand reputation and the struggle it now takes to get them back to relevancy. So I don't know. I think I'm excited to spend more and more time with the Mazda folks, but I think they're a brand that has a tremendous opportunity. And I'm excited to be in the CX-90, but I don't think $60,000 SUVs are really their core competency. But what do I know? We'll see.
We'll find out. We will find out.
Okay, folks. Well, if we can help you with anything, please go ahead, check out CarEdge.com. We mentioned various resources, tools, and research on today's show. So please, please, please take a peek back at CarEdge.com. And like I said earlier, we have all sorts of help that we can give you with AI. But also, if you want to skip the dealership altogether, we're the leading car buying platform. So skip the dealership, learn more about our car buying services, and you can have a good time there. Dad, we'll be back tomorrow with more. Excuse me. Actually, I will not be. I'm in Manhattan. I'm in New York doing some meetings, in-person meetings. So you and Justice will be live tomorrow on CarEdge Live, and then we're back on Thursday for more of these shenanigans.
Yes, and I will be on with my dear friend Brandon from Car Questions Answered at 1:30 today on our Car Sense channel, and I have no idea exactly what direction we're taking that show, but I guarantee it'll be a fun 30-minute conversation, regardless of what direction we go.
Can't wait to see. Well, enjoy the day, Dad. I'm going to take the train up to New York after the show here, so get moving in a moment, and I love you. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
I love you too. Have a safe journey to New York City, and please say hello to all my friends in New York for me.